was my mama's, and unfortunately, she's not here. But I could say a lot about Nikki, but she was born into addiction. She really was. And I'll let her tell her story. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nikki Duggins. I've been up here in North Wilkesboro for about 6 months now, staying at the Phases Recovery House. I got out of prison April 27th. April 17th. That was my second time doing prison time and some jail time. But I love this place. This has been like my big support system that's put me together on my recovery journey. But I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Let's see. But my story isn't perfect, and neither am I. But everything I've been through has shaped the person that's standing in front of you today. And I'm nervous. I've never done this, so I did not prepare for this, y'all. This is coming off the top of my head. So we're just gonna get it like that. Okay. So young growing up, I lived in Stokes County, which is like an hour and a half away from here. And my parents both were, my mom was an addict, into drugs and stuff. My dad was an alcoholic. And we just come from a little small town. And my grandmother was always sober. And let's see, my mom and dad, I was like, 5, 6, probably 7, in that kind of age. And my mom lost custody. Well, she didn't lose custody. She would just always, put me on my dad and stuff. And we was younger, and my dad lived in his mom's house that she passed away, my grandmother. And that house burnt down due to like a drug thing. We don't really know what happened, but the house burnt down, and my mom was still far out. So my grandma got custody of me and my little sister. My mom had another baby. When I was 9, I was the only child till I was 9, and my grandmother got custody of me because my mom was out doing crazy stuff, and the DSS got involved, and my grandma ended up getting custody of me and my little sister. And I ended up going into a foster home, therapeutic foster home, when I was like 15, because I was with my grandmother, and I wasn't supposed to be out with my mom, but I went out with her, and we took a couple shots. I was supposed to be dyeing her hair and going right back to my grandma's. We ended up at a trap house, crack house place, and then I ended up doing some cocaine. Like, my mom knew about it too, and then he took off with me, and then he ended up it's bad stuff. But anyways, he brought me back to my grandma's, and I told my grandma what I did. She called DSS. They thought it was like a suicide attempt, but they put me in a psych unit in Brenner's Children's Hospital for 8 days. And then when I got out, I had to go to a foster home because they said I was an endangerment to my little sister. So I remember going to a foster home, and didn't stay in there too long. It was probably about 4 months. I got back out with my grandmother. Was doing pretty good in high school. My mom moved up here actually, and got sober up to North Wilkesboro, and met a guy named Sonny, and they worked at McDonald's together. And my little sister was still with my grandma, and my dad had went off to prison when I was 15 for like 4 DUIs. He got like 4 DUIs and ended up going into prison, and that like crushed my heart when he went to prison. And I literally fell to my knees, I remember, in the courtroom because they had sentenced my daddy so much time. Well, while he was in prison, I was still in high school, and I met a guy in there, and his name was Eric Tate, and I met him, and he was the star basketball player. We really became really good friends at first, and he helped me out and took me school shopping. All kind of stuff when I was in high school, and he would take me to school and everything. And he also did his little stuff on the side, but it was mainly marijuana. That's all it was. When my dad got out of prison, he met him, and my dad really didn't agree to it because of the colors and this and that, but they immediately got along because they, smoked a little joint outside, and then they became good friends. And not too long after that, I was like 16, 17, I dropped out of high school. My mom tried to move back home and be a part of my life, and I didn't want to have really much anything to do with her. So I ended up quitting school and quitting my job at Hardee's the same day, and I'd worked there a whole year and 8 months, and I had like 4 credits. We was actually ordering caps and gowns when I quit. But by that time, I was already into, like, my grandma got prescribed Xanaxes. I was already taking Xanaxes. I was prescribed Klonopins at 15 years old because of my anxiety. So I was already kind of into the pill thing. I didn't do really much of the drinking. You know, when I was 14, I had a job. That's when I got my first job at the Hillbilly Hideaway in Pine Hall down in Stokes County, and I was working as washing dishes, and I didn't even have a worker's permit yet. And I remember my 14th birthday, they have a little music hall down beside it, and they actually got me a cake and everything and sung me happy birthday. And my mom wasn't there, like my dad wasn't there, it was just them. And the man that owned it, Sam Bray, he got up there and he was like, you know, out of all boys that I got in the kitchen, I got like 7 boys in the kitchen, or young gentlemen in the kitchen. He said, but this girl right here will outrun all of them. And he was like, and he told him I wasn't even able to work at that age, but now I was able to get a worker's permit. So I worked there for a while. I ended up getting into a little car wreck thing, and then I ended up quitting and then working at Hardee's. But when I quit high school, we was ordering cap and gowns, and I quit my job the same day. And then once I quit my job, I was off with my partner, Eric, my boyfriend, whatever, and I ended up getting pregnant at 17. And I go and I tell my dad about it, and he's all shocked. I was crying, and my dad's like, it's not no time to cry now, girl. It's time to, woman up. You better quit crying. Ain't nothing to cry about. You got to grow up now. So, and then we find out it's a little girl, and, we're all excited. We had us a little house in Pine Hall. We didn't pay like $350 a month in rent, and it was nice. And, let's see, and I was working at Dollar General then. I remember that, driving my grandmother's car. It was pretty nice. I mean, but, okay, where was that? Okay, and then I'm pregnant, but not even 2 months before I found out I was pregnant, my mom was the one who took me to the doctor, and she was pregnant with my little brother. And, so that made me, my sister, and my little brother all 9 years apart. And my mom was so excited because she was having a little boy, and she named him Jalen, and we called him JJ, Jalen William Jalen Ferguson was his name. And him and my oldest daughter, we named her Nalia, we called her Lily, and they used to play together and stuff, and that was like her best friend, and he used to come to my house, and I used to watch him, and when my mom would be anywhere. But then I got a phone call one day. My mom called me, and she said that, Jalen was laying on the couch, and he wasn't really responsive. She had just woke up from a nap. And she said it's just something was off with him. And then she said he was in the back room, and he had got into some pills or like some weed roaches, something. And I was like, Mom, call 911, like this is serious. So she did. And, it was just like a little accidental, like split second. I mean, and that was her world. That's what sobered her up. And she was doing so good and was so happy to have her little boy. And plus me and my little sister was in her life. So we was all together. And Sonny, his dad, was the best man my mama ever got treated by. He was just so good to her, treated her like gold. I mean, and they was just the happiest family. But Sonny had fell over with a brain aneurysm and a stroke, so my mom was having to take care of Jalen by herself. But when she took that nap, all that stuff, he went into the hospital, and CPS came in, and they took my little brother from my mom, and that crushed her. Like, me and Erica went up to the hospital, and we prayed on him, and he was just so pitiful. I mean, it was just sad. And then after my mom lost him, she just lost her mind. Like, she just really did. She got into doing the fentanyl. At first she was doing pretty good. She moved away, moved up to Kernersville, got 2 jobs. She was working at Jersey Mike's and then like another little corner store. So she was doing really good, living in an apartment. But then she got into another abusive relationship and stuff. And my dad was just out here drinking, running wild. He was living in campers at Jim Boo's Catfish Pond. I mean, just wilding out. My daddy was just crazy. He really was. And but he was the best thing ever. My dad was always really good to me. Like on Fridays, Daddy would always come and give me money, and Daddy was just always there when I needed him. And even though he was drinking, he was still a good part of my life. He was a concrete finisher, so he would go work all week long. but he would drink after work and sometimes have a couple beers before work, but he was still a good man. My daddy always told me, girl, if you spent half the time you did messing yourself up in the bettering yourself, what kind of person would you be? Or, he just, I don't know, he had a lot of faith in me. That was like my main man. So, okay, so on to, let's see, my mom having my little brother, he got taken away. So my mom moves out, gets the 2 jobs, moves to Kernersville. She was on pain pills because, see, I had been in 4 different car wrecks. I had been in a head-on collision that wasn't my fault. My dad was in the car, my baby daddy's cousin, and let's see, it was really bad. We were in an 88 box Chevy and was going down a straightaway. I got into, after I quit these other jobs and quit high school, somehow I got into when my mama's, her kid's dad, Jalen, his daddy, when he fell over with a brain injury or stroke, my mom had problems with paying the bills and stuff. So I seen a sign going all the way to Winston, club, called, and I was like, Mom, I'm about to call that number, and I'm about to go in there and dance and make some money. And she was like, nah, I said, that ain't even real, is it? And she said, yeah, it is, Nikki. So when I get back to her house, I called. They tell me everything I needed. She called one of her guy friends. Picks me up, takes me out there. I'm dancing. I'm 18 years old, out there on the stage. It's a different world in there. I mean, it was crazy. But in the first night, I made a little over $1,000. Went home, paid my mom's rent, paid the light bill. Everything started coming together. And me and my little girl's dad, we had split up. But then he later comes into the picture. I actually answered the phone while I was at the club, and he's like, "Are you really doing this? Where's our child? And you're out partying." And I was like, "No, I'm actually out making money, And he comes to my mom's trailer in Winnet Cove and was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this." And I was all bruised up. Like, if anybody knows anything about it, that stuff puts a lot of strain on your body. So he's like, we got to get you out of this. And I told him, no, I'll go with you, but I'm still going to keep doing this. And I did. Eventually he came around and came into the clubs with me and got used to it, to realize I'm in there just to make money and come back home. That's all it was. I really didn't even want to be doing it. I bought a bunch of cars, but I got more into the drug game. I was selling drugs. I was still using. I got on the pain pills because of the car wrecks. I went to Bethany Medical Pain Center, and they was giving me 4 Percocets a day, and I was using them. And then it went on in the clubs. I started in with the cocaine, and that just spiraled, And eventually I got into a bad enough car wreck, about 5 of them, that I messed up my whole left arm right here and had to have stitches, and was supposed to work at a club in High Point that weekend. And I said, you know what, I can't do it no more. I done drug my little sister into it now. Remind you, she's 9 years younger than me, but when she was turned 18, I took her into the club. She always wanted to know what it was like. So I took her in there. By the second day, she was crying. I can't do this, Sissy. I can't do it. She couldn't even walk up the steps back to the dressing room. She's in tears. I can't do this no more. Her heel done broke on stage. They're gorilla gluing it together. I'm like, okay, this is it. So that last bad wreck put me out of it. So then I just started looking for regular jobs. But being in addiction, I couldn't. There's no way I could keep it. No way. Then me and my kid's dad, we ended up having Ellie Mae. So let's see, 8 years after I had Nalia, I ended up having Ellie Mae. And Ellie Mae is named after 2 of my people in my family. My Tina Mae, which is my cousin Katie's sister, and then Sheila Mae, which is her mama. So we tried to carry on their names because Tina had been found of an overdose in 2021, and then her mom died, Sheila, and then her mama died, which was my daddy's sister, because Sheila's my dad's sister. So Delane, she passed away, and then let's see. So it was all bad like this. The addiction and the overdose and already then started with her sister, and then my mom was going downhill. And let's see, I had split up with my kid's dad. I split up with him 1 year and 8 months, and I'm living in my own house, and I'm struggling. Didn't really have a way to go, and there was a guy, I was living at my grandma's house, and this guy pulls up and actually is with somebody else that's there to sell me some stuff, some pain pills, and they got a truck, and I'm thinking I need to move stuff into my new house. So I asked him, and that was Joey Joyce. I asked him, I said, can you can you move my stuff? Help me move my stuff into my new house. I got my 2 girls, you know, I don't want to bring in my kid's dad. We're not doing so well. So he helps me move. Then he ends up helping my landlord, like, tear stuff down in the back of the house, like the wood and old buildings on the four-wheeler. I remember standing outside watching them, and I was like, you know, like, and I hadn't been with nobody. Nobody had came for me since me and my baby daddy split up. So, and then late night, I needed people. I had a wood stove underneath the house. We had to chop wood. He would chop wood for me, come in the middle of the night, start my fire for me. He would sit there with me while I cooked, help me clean up, and would help me with my daughters. When I would need a bottle made, I'd be rocking one and the other one trying to put them to sleep. You know, just different stuff. Go to the grocery store for me. He'd really help me. And I guess it started by me just saying one night, you just want to lay in the bed with me, you know, and it was all over a vengeance story because I had found somebody, you know, laying in the bed with my baby daddy and heard about it. So I was kind of like, oh, well, I'm going to do this. I mean, it was dumb, but either way, it turned out to be like I ended up falling in love with Joey, and I think he ended up, you know, falling in love with me. But I feel like as time went on, we both got into addiction, and he knew more about, like, meth and ice, you know, so then I was introduced to that, and then I was like, ooh, let me try that. So I went from my pain pills to the ice and stuff, and then as I got further into that, I got introduced to what my mom, my sister, and everybody, it was heroin, fentanyl, got to start doing that. And then he ended up having to go off to prison because we had done a lot of crazy stuff, got some larceny charges, you know, the addiction was really taking over. And so he went off to prison, and when he did, you know, my sister was IV using, you know, so I got into that, and he got back out of prison. I mean, it was just a spiral kind of thing, and then before you know it, I'm locked up for my first time in jail, and the corporal comes in the next day. Okay, at first it was like a CO came to me, and she's like, Miss Duggins, come here, and she said, put your mask on. So I put my mask on, and I go out in the hallway, and I walk down the hallway, and something just felt off, you know, and we get into this office, and it's the corporal, and he's like, I think it was Amos, if I believe, but he said, I've done this a lot, this is my job, I just need you to have a seat. And I sat down, and he said, I want you to know that your mom, Lori Ann Bullins, was pronounced dead at 4 a.m. this morning. And I said, excuse me? And he's like, yes. And I said, how? He said, fentanyl toxicity. And I was like, what? He said, yeah. And I was like, I think you got the wrong person. I'm tripping. It's February 10th, 2022. And I'm like, no, this is not right. There's no way. And my dad's sick out there. I really thought it was my dad that passed away. My cousin Katie had been in and out of the hospital trying to help him, and hospice being called in. So he had to go stay with her. He went and stayed with her and her husband, Ollie. And they were taking good care of him because they knew I couldn't. I was in jail. There's no way I'm out there. So they told me my mom's dead, you know, and stuff. And so they gave me 2 phone calls. They said, you get 2 15-minute phone calls. My shift's about to change. I can give you 2. That's all, you know. So my first phone call was to my kid's dad, Eric. I called him, and I said, I was like, what happened? And he's like, what happened? She was here, and then she went to your grandma's, and then they just found her dead. Your aunt found her dead, your Aunt Tony, and she tried to revive her, and, you know, Granny watched it happen, and I think she threw up, got choked on it, we don't know. And I was like, well, please come bond me out. He had bonded me out a week before that. His cousin helped him, and they bonded me out on a $40,000 bond, and y'all wasn't out 7 days. My cousin Katie brought me my dad, and he had to be fed through a feeding tube. He had a trach in his throat. I was trying to take care of him, plus try to take care of my 3 girls and stay sober and do this, y'all. And I'd been locked up 60 days. On the 7th day, I'd done got a 20 and shot it in the bathroom and fell out. My dad couldn't even find his voice box and was in there, like, pouring water on me. And my 8-year-old seen me too. And luckily, my baby daddy was coming in from bowling, and my 8-year-old come and told my baby daddy. She said, you know, Daddy, Mommy's not moving. She's falling out in the bathroom. And then Eric come in there. When he came in there, he was going to call 911. He said he kind of smacked me on the face. And as he was about to call 911, I came back too, you know. And when I did, that's when his cousin came back and got me, and they put me back in jail. So 7 days before my mom overdosed, I did it too. They watched me, you know. And I went back to jail. I had to call my cousin Katie and tell her, look, I've done relapse, you know, I've done used, and they're putting me back in jail. Please come get Daddy. So she comes and gets him. takes him back to her house, and I ended up going back in jail for, like, I stayed in jail 2 weeks after my mom had passed. And then when I got out, I had called Joey, because the jail's literally not even 10 minutes from his house. So I called him and I was like, hey, I'm out, can you come get me, you know, and he had just got out of prison. So I said, they're going to give me felony probation, you know. Well, I got out, I wasn't with him, we were together probably 2 weeks, and I done went and then got the same goat that killed my mom and tried to hurt myself, you know. And remind you, my little sister's the one that was with my mom that gave her the dope the day after her birth, the day on her birthday was February 9th, and my mom died February 10th, but my sister and her were using together, and then, but they were supposed to get together that weekend and never made it, you know what I'm saying? And my Aunt Tony, that was at my grandma's house with my mom, she also was using too, you know, so they were all using, her son, my little cousins, it was bad. Okay, so as my mom had passed away and I get out of jail and I'm still using, you know, Katie calls me and she says, Nikki, we got to go to the hospital. There's some stuff about your dad. I'm going to come get you and you got to come with me, you know. So I go with her to the hospital and they tell my daddy that he's only got 2 weeks to live. And he just looks at me, and I remember him mouthing it to me. He was like, this is it? Like, and looked at me with confused, and I was like, no, this is not it. No, this can't be it. And I'm looking at Katie, and she's like, looking at me, so I go look out the window, and I kind of just try to brush it off, like, no, this ain't it, you know. And then they're telling him, they're like, you got to stay in the hospital. You're on a ventilator, Tommy. You got to stay in the hospital. This is where you got to go. And my dad's like, no, I want to go home and die. I want to go back to Katie's. I want to go back to the country and just die right there, you know, at the house. Same place her mom died. She had just buried her mama, too. She was in hospice. My Aunt Sheila, she was there, and she let her go through hospice and pass away there and then leave. So, they told us, he's not going to make, you know, this ventilator thing, you can't bring it home, you know, so he's going to have to go here. So we kind of accepted it, but at the same time knew that maybe he could come off of it and come back to Katie's and pass away. So we leave, and then not even 8 o'clock that next morning, Katie's calling me, and she's like, hey, and I was like, hey, she's like, I gotta come get you. And I'm like, what's going on? She said, I just got a phone call from the hospital, and they said Mr. Duggins is ready to be released. He's discharged. He's off that ventilator, and 93% of people don't make it off one of those. And I was like, are you kidding? And she was like, no. So my dad got to come home for 2 weeks, and y'all, it was exactly 2 weeks. And I remember the last thing him eating was I know he ate pancakes. I was out of it, y'all, really was. And my dad just kept looking at me. He's like, get off that stuff, Nikki, please. You got daughters. Because by that time I had a third daughter. I had Aurora. And I was with Joey. It was my baby daddy Eric's daughter, but I was with Joey when I was pregnant with her and stuff. And but by that time, you know, all 3 of my girls are with Eric because I'm in active addiction. I can't do nothing. So he's fought for them and still been by my side, let me see him. He's forever my best friend, still is one of my biggest supporters. I always knew I could get clean, you know, but when I went to prison this last time, he moved all 3 of the girls up to West Virginia with this nice lady, Megan, and they're doing great. And I went to visit them, and I still talk to them. I've mailed them tablets. I still go see them. Went and see them on Christmas. Set up a whole hotel room with presents and stuff to try to, you know, make it feel like Christmas, a little Christmas tree. I know my little one was like, Mommy, why is the Christmas tree so small? I'm like, girl, it's a Christmas tree. Worry about the presents. You know, they're ready for me to come back up there because they're ready to see their little brother. I don't know how they feel. I just don't want them to feel left out because I'm having him, you know. But, so where was I at? With my daddy passing away and then me off to prison this last time, in between that, my cousin Devin died. The one I was talking about, my Aunt Tony that found my mom, her oldest son overdosed. In between my daddy in hospice, we had to go view Devin's body and then come back, and still my dad had to be buried. And Ollie and Joey had to carry my daddy's body to the hearse. It took me like 4 hours. Katie called me and was like, he's gone. I gave him a bath. I put him in his favorite outfit. But I'm not going to call the funeral home until you come and say your goodbyes. And it took me like 4 hours laying there on him before I could even get them to come get him. But they did. And I knew he wasn't in pain no more. And it felt good just to know that he's at peace now. But I knew I had to make him proud. I just hated he didn't get to see what he's getting to see now. He died April 1st, which is April Fool's Day, and y'all, he was the biggest jokester, told all the tricks of the world. He was a funny person. So he just picked the right day to go, you know, and I'm due April 16th, and I really feel like the baby may come on April 1st, because I feel like he's sending him to me, you know what I mean, on the day he left. It'd be a better day to kind of celebrate. But, well, I guess we'll see. But, and then as far as my little brother that I was telling y'all about, it's really sad. He got tattoos of my mom's death date, her birthday, and saying until we meet again. My little sister got in touch with him first, and then I've spoke with him too. He really wonders about how my mom was, and, you know, and everything. And that's just so sad, because my mom, I don't feel like she meant to leave like that, but at the same time, she always talked about it, like, what if I overdose, you know? And I'm like, well, you got to get sober, you know what I mean? We got to get sober. And none of them really got the chance to, so it bothers me. And this last time I was in prison, I went back on my 9 months. I'm not on no parole, no probation no more. And I think that really opened my eyes. And then I was in there, and I got a phone call that my aunt, the one that tried to save my mom, she overdosed. They found her in the kitchen. So, and then, I forgot to mention this. So after my dad passed away, that following September, my grandma that raised me, that was the one that I ran into, me and my little sister helped raise us, she passed of cancer September 22nd. So I'm missing one of them. But I actually have 8 obituaries up here from 2021 of like all the people that left. It's not here no more. That was my mom. And then that was my cousin Devin, the one I was just talking about. And that was my aunt's son. Yeah, my aunt's son, oldest son. And then that was my daddy. And then that was my mom's mom. And this is my daddy's sister. This was Katie's mama, the first person that she had at her house that did the hospice that passed away. I don't know how she done it. She's a very strong woman to be able to do that. And I'm so lucky and fortunate to have Katie today, because she's literally the only family member I have left, besides like my little sister and my cousin Andy that were in addiction. And my little sister, I waited to tell this story. I'm 16 months sober, about to be 17 months on the 17th. But my little sister was supposed to be the one to come and introduce me. And I talked to her this morning, and she really wanted to. I tried to wait on her. She was clean for 6 months and doing really good, but she moved away from here and went to Greensboro to an Oxford house, and was around people using, and she eventually felt, you know, you hang out at the barber shop long enough, you're going to get the haircut. So she kind of went in for it, and she just crashed all the way out. And I kept praying for my higher power to sit her down, and I didn't think it was going to happen the way it did, but now she is sitting down in a hospital, you know, infection on her lungs. She had pneumonia, all kind of stuff, and I just hate that. I just hope that this is her time that she wakes up, because I don't know how many more chances she's going to get. And she means a lot to me. I've been trying to push her, and she's just not catching the whole hint, I guess. I don't know. I'm just praying that God will bring her through this. But, and I also told her about a dream I had. It was 2 nights ago, and I was so scared. And Katie, you told me to eat before I told you about it, and I didn't get the chance to tell her, but I told Joey last night, and I told my sister this morning, y'all, I had a dream that since I've moved away from Phases and we're remodeling Joey's trailer and trying to get ready for the baby, had my sister and her friend and some old friends that are even in prison now came around me, and they had some stuff, and I said, well, I got one more in me, you know, I got one more, I can do this, you know, it ain't gonna hurt. So first I started smoking a little stuff, and then I went to go buy 20 of some fentanyl, and I gave the dude $20, and he said, well, all I got is a 5 on me, and that's all you're going to get until I can get some more. And I was like, oh man, that's messed up, but give it here. So I did it, y'all, and when I did it, I died. Like, it was like I come out of my body, and I watched myself, you know, and I seen them hitting me with Narcan, everything, and I wouldn't come back, and I was like, oh my gosh, y'all got to bring me back, like, what is going on? Well, then I watched myself, and it was like I went home, like I went to my higher power, and I went up there, and he was just glowing white, put his hand on my shoulder, and was like, I said, why didn't you save me? Send me back. I got a baby. I just started this. Like, I got lots of stuff left to do. I got my 3 girls. I was doing so good. I'm sorry. Please Just send me back. It ain't my time. He said, yes, it is. He said, because I sent everybody. He said, I sent the support system. I left your 3 daughters. I sent a good man. He said, I left your cousin Katie. He said, I did. He said, I just put you in phases, all that support system. He said, I sent COs, I sent nurses. He said, and you just wouldn't listen. He said, so I had to bring you here to tell you. And y'all, I freaked out. I was like, oh no. He's like, yeah, I had to bring you up here face to face to tell you this because I tried in so many different ways and you wouldn't pay attention. And then y'all, I woke up and I was like, oh, I'm here. It's real. It's not real. Joy, wake up. Wake up. I'm freaking out. Oh God, I had a bad dream. I was like, and y'all know those dreams are so bad when you realize, but that right there really shook me. And then I told my sister about it this morning and I said, you know what? Because she's saying, I'm going to leave the hospital and before I go to that rehab, I got one more in me. I said, all right. I said, you think so? I said, I've already accepted it, and I love you so much. I said, but I don't know. I don't think God's tried to show you in so many ways. I said, and let me tell you this dream. And I told her that dream and she said, oh my gosh, that gave me chills. I don't know. And I said, yeah, you better think about that because that could be you sitting there asking God, like, why can you send me back? I didn't mean to do that, because that's probably what my mom did. That's probably what my cousin Tina Mae did. That's probably what my cousin Devin did. My baby daddy's brother's wife, Holly, I watched her, overdose in front of me and me try to save her and she didn't make it. I've seen a lot of people go. When I was pregnant with my last one, Joey was 3 days fresh out of prison and did 2 straw fulls with the plug, and then they found him out face down in front of his Dodge Charger, and we had to come back and bring him back, and that was scary because I could only imagine having to tell his mom, like, oh my gosh, your son, I'm sorry, but I brought him back at like 6 months pregnant, and I know he's had to help bring me, we brought my dad back, but you can't get so many chances. So, to telling everybody that's in active addiction, you think you got one more chance left, and I'm telling you, I bet you all these people I've talked to y'all about today all thought that they had another chance, that it wasn't their time, but when God's going to try to show you everything and then sits you in these good places as phases, you know what I'm saying, with all that support system to help you carry on, and you don't want to keep seeing it, he's just going to say, all right, well, I'm going to have to come tell you face to face then, So, just reach out, talk in these meetings, ask questions. If you're feeling lonely, talk, but I feel like there's so much tearing down now in these groups, like, people want to go against each other when the women, need to be bringing each other together. It's the only way you're going to make it, but you got to stay focused on yourself. You got to put your recovery before anything, because if not, then that addiction is going to make something else look better, and then you're going to turn to that, so, and I'm always here for you guys, and shout out to Phases, and Brandon, and Gabby, and Tammy, and Karen, and Dustin, and Amanda, and everybody, Andy that was there, Byron, and everybody else that watched me go through all this stuff, and all the ones I still have left here to support me. And what else? I just want to say, don't give up, and my quote was, anything meant for you won't miss you. So don't feel like you're missing out on anything out here, because anything that's meant to happen, it's going to happen, and it's all happened for a reason. You know what I mean? No matter what God's mysterious, magical ways, if it is, it's all going to work out. Just keep your faith and keep doing the next right thing, like Andy Royal says. The next right thing. And I thank you guys for coming out to hear my story. And maybe I'll tell it again with some pictures or some presentation. I don't know. I'm not that great with all that stuff. So this just all came off the top of my head. And I hope everybody enjoyed it. And y'all stay safe and stay sober. Stay blessed. Thank you.